here. Go out there. See you. Ooh, that's weird. Greetings. So my green screen's not as good with this. Let's see. How's it going? Let me get on the chats. Who's there? Thanks for joining. Much appreciated. It's interesting why. So, let me try some couple different things here. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening. I'm like really busy these days, and so I'm always in a rush, which which I think makes sense when to a lot of people that I would be in a rush when I'm actually a guy who's running for Congress while also having a family and a full-time job. So this week it was kind of funny. Hey, Nathan Lattimore, how are you? So it was really funny this week. I was calling people, right, to talk to them about the campaign, try to fundraise, that type of thing. It's what you have to do. I'm not super at it, but I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at doing it more consistently and that type of thing, because basically politics is all about money. So I'm talking to this guy, and at the end of the conversation, he says, you know, Kyle, you need to just quit your job and run full time. I'm like, man, that would be awesome. But if you don't have enough money, like an independently wealthy person, you can't quit your job and run full time, right? So pretty much everybody that you see out there. So if you think about pretty much everybody, right? They either already work in a job that allows them to be a politician, or they are independently wealthy and they don't need a job. So, you know, John Fetterman is the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. So as the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, it's understood you're probably going to be a candidate for office doing something in politicking. It's part of your role. So, you know, we've got Mark Robinson here in the state of North Carolina, who I'm pretty sure has done nothing in his entire time as lieutenant governor, but he certainly is always out there running for governor in 2024. Or you're a lawyer, and a lot of times I think a lot of legal firms are perfectly happy to let a lawyer go out and run for office for a while, because it provides exposure. It helps put them in a position to kind of get more clients, that type of thing. And if the person happens to win, that law firm has someone in a position of power who can then help them going forward. And then there's just the independently wealthy, like Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is throwing down some serious bucks. Oh my God, man, I don't know how much that cat has spent, but tens of millions of dollars, I think, on his own campaign. He's like, just, hey, I'm going to spend all this money and I'm going to like say really stupid crap. So again, Matt Gaetz is an example of that, right? Donald Trump. I mean, he actually, funny enough, there's a great book by Timothy Snyder called The Road to Unfreedom. And I think it's like chapter 6. I can't remember, but it basically outlines how the Russians kind of financed Donald Trump. And it doesn't do it in kind of like some conspiratorial way. It walks through how like the Russians basically financed him. So even though he's very wealthy, he never had any intention of spending his own money. And a lot of times he was always hanging on the brink of some kind of financial disaster, which is why he had 6 bankruptcies. But when someone says you need to quit your job and go run, I think it belies the fact that if you're a regular person who everybody says, why don't regular people run for office? You can't quit your job to run for office, right? This becomes something that you have to do at 7:05 p.m. on Wednesday nights. And that's cool too, man, because you learn a lot. So, what have I learned? Well, I've learned that I think this particular thing would be a crap load more interesting if I had guests. So, I'm going to start inviting guests, right? And we're going to have like conversations. And I'm also thinking about changing the name of this. Really doesn't have a name, does it? Kyle Parrish, candidate for NC5. That's not a very, very appealing name. To like first time candidate, where I can talk to people about all these different things and all the different issues that are facing us and that type of thing. Because not just first time candidates, but the people in my district and the way as a first time candidate, I'm learning about them and everything else. Because I do think it's vitally important that people understand what this is about and like how to get engaged and how to help. Over the past week, I've kind of had an epiphany about the campaign. And it's that it's really hard to do it on your own, right? And I kind of do a lot of stuff on my own. I've got a great guy who helps me, but he's like a part-time guy that helps me out to do stuff. But going back to having to have a lot of money, when you're running a political campaign, you're supposed to have a whole bunch of things, right? You're supposed to have a campaign manager. You're supposed to have field organizers. You're supposed to have a media person. You're supposed to have someone who's writing policy for you. There's this whole machine that goes on in the back end, which a lot of that, if someone starts out and they're very heavily engaged with the Democratic Party or whatever, so basically you've got your standard party people, they kind of form over time. But if it's someone who actually has always been passionate about politics like myself and saw that no one from that party was ever going to run and that the person was going to run unopposed, and you come into this without anyone knowing your name or who you are or what you do, and you don't have a huge stack of cash, you kind of do it on your own. So you learn along the way, right? And I've learned a lot along the way. I don't know. I'm going to put some stuff. So I'll show you kind of, if you want. Let's see. How do I do this? I did it last week. It was fun. Where I put in different, right, let's see, pressed shift 2. Yeah. I don't know how I'm trying to get it so that I can have the window. Oh, I know what it was. Share screen. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen over here, share, and I'm going to put it into this window here. So there, again, always learning. So, like I'm in here creating my own YouTube account. So if you haven't been, or not YouTube account, but videos, if you have not been to my YouTube, go to my YouTube. It's KP for Congress. If you look up Kyle Parrish for Congress YouTube, you will find it. Once I get a bunch of subscribers, then I can just have like a URL. But right now, Kyle Parrish for Congress. I also have my fantastic website, KP, which is Kyle Parrish for Congress also. And here, I built this pretty much. And then I had some people that are really cool that are helping me out too. But all this stuff that you see has to be built and maintained, right? And so learning about all these things is pretty cool, which is why I think as a first-time candidate, I've had to figure out, wow, what are all the pieces? You also have a big district, right? So I know y'all live in the 5th district or whatever, at least some of you do, whoever's out there. And Bob and Lisa Barber, welcome if you're still there. It's 12 counties. It's about 750,000 people that we represent. It is in, let's go to Dave's redistricting. And we can from here, and I will next week, I'm actually planning on making this a lot more produced. So Dave's redistricting, if you're really interested in kind of politics and gerrymandering and maps and all that kind of stuff, it's hard to beat this site. It's pretty sweet. So basically, in there, you can accept, and look here, kids. It's the 5th district. So this is us. Now they're about, in this yellow district here, they're about 750,000 people. Okay. It's a lot of people. So we'll go into some district details. You can see here it is, 745,670. You can't see that. It's off the side of the screen because of the way this is. I'll switch back to maybe this. No, this one. This is good. So in here, there's 745,670 people in the district. You get the whole breakdown of what they are here: white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Native Pacific Island. And then we look here. In this district, and this is not the right district. This is District 1. We'll go to 5. Let's see. I want to go to 5. Come on. Here it is. District 5 is over here. I'm going to do my district selector. District 5. Now let's check it out, right? District details. This looks better. 226,000 Republicans, 149,633 Democrats. 58 to 38. So I'm starting out 60 to 40 right off the bat, right? I'm going to eat a French fry while I'm sitting here because there's one person watching. I don't know if that's Bob and Lisa Barber or if it's Nathan Lattimore or it's someone else. Anyway, I'm just glad you're here. So now you can, like, with this, look at our district and say, what's the partisan lean? So, pull this up. Let's pull in some different overlays. Let's look at our county lines. Here we are, and let's label them too. I think that's, let's label, not this one, this. There we go. And you can see my 12 counties. Now, each of these counties, I don't know how much y'all know about this, but each of these counties has a county chairperson for the party. And within each of those, there are precincts. So we can do precinct lines. Oh, look at that. See all these little lines right here? These are all precincts. And in each of those precincts, there's a certain number of people also. And they have like a voting area. And there are people within those precincts that organize those voters. And I can move the mouse over stuff, and you can see the precinct details up here. Like, let's go to, I don't know, let's go to Watauga. And we'll find brushy, there we go, Watauga precinct detail. It is 46% Democrat and 51.2% Republican, right? Now, the county of Watauga, surprisingly, like here we go, this is New River. Surprisingly, the county of Watauga, which is where Virginia Fox is from, she has never won it. Isn't that crazy? And it's because nobody really seems to like Virginia Fox. They've all just accepted her as a default. Anyway, getting back to the whole thing. So the idea is for me to be able to go through and work through and get votes from all of these precincts and take what is a 60-40 place and turn it into maybe, well, if I were going to win, a 51-49 or a 50.1 to a 49.9 place where I could win. So that requires a lot of effort. Dude, Hey, Nathan, that is actually a great question. So for those of you who don't know the forum that I'm using here, it's called Restream. I'm actually streaming right now on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch, Telegram, and Twitter. All of those simultaneously, I'm live streaming on. So when I don't know where someone's coming from, I have to look. That's what it is. So we're looking at a YouTube question, and it says, basically, he's a first-time voter in Surrey County, and it's his understanding that I live in Cary. What are my connections to the 5th district? And how can I trust you to understand our needs in Washington? So there's two answers to this. One, which is the very, very short answer, which is, well, I could try to convince you, Nathan, that you can trust me to understand your needs in Washington, even though I live in Cary. But at the end of the day, there's Virginia Fox and there's me. And we are so diametrically opposed that really the choice is, would you go with Virginia Fox or would you go with Kyle, regardless of who? So that's the very short answer. The longer answer, which you deserve because, dude, you're a voter and you ask a great question, is, can I understand the needs? I probably can't understand all the needs. If you look like you've been here, so you're listening. These 12 counties span a lot of area. So over here in Forsyth, right, it's a suburb of Winston-Salem and part of Winston-Salem itself. Here in Watauga is Boone, and Boone is a big university town. Up in Allegheny, they have 4 precincts and a grand total of 10,000 people in the entire area. To get to know all these is going to take a long time. I'm running on a platform that I think covers all these areas, which is, I believe in funding education. I believe in trying to draw and maintain jobs that pay a living wage. When I look at this in all these rural areas, there's a huge problem with healthcare access that is kind of emerging. It exists, continues to evolve, and is going to reach critical levels in the next few years due to the nature of our healthcare system. I also, while it's interesting, Ashe County has great broadband for some area. Some other areas don't, and it's huge. How are kids supposed to learn without broadband? How are companies supposed to get jobs without broadband? Those are and affordable housing has become a real problem in areas like Forsyth, as well as in Watauga. And then if you think about some of these resort areas that might exist or suburbs of the greater Winston-Salem area, affordable housing is becoming a problem there. Those are the macro level problems I would work to solve. Nathan, you as a first-time voter, I would also say, raise your voice. Show up to things like this. Ask me questions. Say, Kyle, here's a problem that I have in my area that my rep needs to pay attention to. That's the way I'm going to learn, is by engaging and by knowing that people such as yourself actually care enough to come and ask questions and to reach out and to ask questions like you did. So I can't tell you I'm going to know all of Washington's issues and how to solve them or what even to do right now. But I can tell you that I'm open to listen, willing to have conversations, I'm willing to try. That is, going back to the original answer, that's so far above where Virginia Fox has been. It's ridiculous. Virginia Fox hasn't held a town hall. Some people say 5 years, some people say a decade. She doesn't respond to any constituent concern. She basically sends a form letter and tells you to pound sand. She walks around at these festivals in her tennis shoes or whatever and shakes hands. But when it comes down to actually doing anything for the district, I have yet in my travels and in my conversations, whether it's been in person or whether it's been on Facebook, been able to find anyone who can point me to any legislation or material change she's made to help the district in 18 years. So my advocacy is like, look, I could be a pretty terrible guy and still be way better than she is, right? So, I mean, it is tragic in this area. And Andrea, who is a volunteer on our campaign and always enthusiastic and awesome, says, we need someone who cares about the people and their needs. Mrs. Fox is not that person. And that could not be more true. Next week, it's either next week or the week after, when I'm going to have a guest who is part of a group called Student Loan Justice. And as you all know, man, that is a huge issue. And I've come out and I've said, I believe student debt cancellation is actually a good move. That's a more complex issue, and this guy and I will talk about it. And so instead of me just babbling on about a camera, I'm going to have someone who shows up and we're going to have a conversation, and that's the way it's going to be going forward. I'm going to start scheduling guests and I'm going to start learning stuff because as a first-time candidate, hey man, I want to talk to people and learn, right? So I think we'll have the conversation, but there's a lot of people in this district and across North Carolina that are crushed underneath student debt obligations that were them hoping to finance their dreams, only to get caught up in a series of fees and interest rates and inability to ever get out from under this that have prevented them from being able to purchase a home, purchase a car, do anything that would advance them economically. So what does Virginia Fox do? Well, Virginia Fox, believe it or not, you're lucky enough to live in the 5th district. She takes, I believe, the largest amount of money, contributions, donations from for-profit colleges and student loan service agencies of any congressperson. I know her number one, and please go to opensecrets.org and check. Don't just take my word for it or find another source you can. Her number one donor in this cycle is a place called Full Sail University. It's a for-profit college that makes all of its money off of student loans. On at least 2 different occasions, Full Sail has been kind of called out for maybe some shady practices. Does that deter Ms. Fox? Oh, absolutely not. She is constantly battling to protect the interests of student loan agencies. Like, what the hell, man? And so that goes to another reason you should vote for me. Student debt is one, because I believe all public education should be free and can be paid for with things like a small tax on Wall Street transactions, right? And that could be a longer episode, but it wouldn't even impact anybody that significantly, right? Except the Wall Street people who have plenty of dough. And it's not even going to impact them significantly. We're talking about fractions of a cent on a transaction. So, but that being said, the other thing I have great concern with is corruption and insider trading, which if you look, there's a count out there you can find. Again, go look it up yourself. It's like called House Stock Trading. And our friend Ms. Fox, this next reporting cycle will pass the $10 million in stock trades while in Congress threshold. $10 million. Now, where did she get all the money to transact this? That's a little bit shady. I mean, she's made a bunch of money, but she makes $174,000 in Congress. And I haven't looked to see what the salary was back in 2005 when she was elected. Or put in office. 2004, she was elected. 2005, she took her seat. But I know it was probably less than $174,000 a year. And now she's traded $10 million in stock, has a net worth of $6 million. And I think she, how? Well, I can tell you how. They get a bunch of information, it seems like. So I can't be 100% sure. No one else can. But there's a lot of trading of stock that goes on in Congress. Virginia Fox is right there in the mix with the number of trades she makes constantly. Sure, and some people go, oh, well, Nancy Pelosi trades stocks. I will never trade a stock while I'm in Congress. This will be online. I'll never trade a stock. I will put everything I have into mutual funds that are controlled completely by someone else and allow that to ride while I'm in Congress. It's not like I have tons of money to go trade in stocks anyway, right? I've got 4 kids, full-time job. So it's not like I'm out there wheeling and dealing in the day trading market or anything. But I can promise you that I'm not going to go into a committee meeting, hear some information that's not publicly available, and then go call up my brother-in-law like Richard Burr did and make a bunch of money off it. right? Because I think it's corrupt. And so that's another reason you should vote for me. I'm not corrupt. Another reason, I'm not going to stay there. I have no interest in camping in Washington. Years and years and years ago, I was when I was a consultant, I actually was in Falls Church and I had an apartment in a place called Tyson's Corner. And I would head in to DC all the time. The traffic's horrible. It's hostile on the roads. I love the mall down the way and everything, which is in between the Capitol building and the Washington Monument. It was beautiful, but it's not any type of place I ever want to make a life. So I would be there to fight for the people of the Fifth, figure out a way to get things squared away enough, get some representation, get people some things that they need here, and then find someone who could take over that would do a good job. So I've said 6 to 8 years would be my peak, right? I wouldn't be one of these people that would sit around forever. If you wanted to say outside would be 12, and you're like, 12 seems like a long time. Well, that's two Senate elections, right? So if at the outside, but I can't imagine doing it more than 6 or 8 years. Honestly, I'm 56 now, I'll be 57 soon. That would be 65 with 8 years, and I'd be perfectly happy to go camp out and hang out, right? And not do this. Go back and do something else. Go back and start a not-for-profit. I've already started one not-for-profit once. I could actually make that thing work. So, that's another reason. I think I got in this because I actually give a shit. And excuse my language. I need to clean that up probably, but it's really why. I have a grave concern for a person like you, Nathan Lattimore, if you're still there. I'm really concerned for your future as a young person. Whether it's climate change or whether it's our democracy coming unraveled, we have serious fundamental issues within our country right now. And we need people who are actually fighting to solve issues instead of enrich themselves or embed their power or inflict their religious beliefs on other people. We need different people running for office. And so I'm running and I'm different. And maybe, it's pretty rough hewn. Like I said, you can go to all my little sites, right? You can check out my YouTube channel. You can check out my website. You can check out my Twitter feed, right? And see what people are having to say on the Twitter feed. And you'll find sometimes I could use a little polish. But I'm genuinely passionate about this. I genuinely care about the people of the Fifth. I genuinely care about the people of North Carolina. I genuinely care about people. The people of the Fifth deserve any representation. Period. End of story. Right? They've had none for 18 years. Do you know what an earmark is? Yeah. Bronson, campaign dog Bronson just came in. Do you know what an earmark is? He's like, no, I know what a French fry is. Campaign dog Bronson deserves a French fry. Oh, look at that. Anyway, so an earmark is where you actually get allocated funds for a particular kind of project in your district. And what it is normally you would get earmarks to come back. And let me see, do I have this article still up somewhere? Oh, we'll do this. This will be fun here in a minute. So we'll do free and reduced lunch. Earmarks are where people, where representatives get money for their district. And so, look, when you live in a district, you pay a bunch of taxes, right? You're like, hey, man, I got a bunch of taxes I'm going to pay. And woo, everybody loves to pay taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes, but we pay taxes. Why? Because it's a cost of a civilized society. But it goes up to Washington, and then we say, okay, what are we going to do with those taxes? Well, if you have a good representative in our current system, what they do is they go up and they fight and they advocate to make sure that your district is represented so that you have projects that can make life better. Like, I don't know, Jackson, Mississippi lately. In case you haven't noticed, they've got a serious water problem, right? If they had gotten earmarks to fix their water facility from the federal government, which they misallocated some money that they got, but earmarks do that kind of thing. They fix infrastructure, they build roads, they build light rail, they do a bunch of different things for the district that basically the district can't do for themselves, but will improve the quality of life for the people that live there and will return dollars that they paid to the federal government back to the district to improve the lives of the people in the district. Virginia Fox is like, that system is corrupt and we're never going to apply for an earmark ever. So basically, she just leaves all that money on the table. And so everybody in her district that pays taxes never gets any of that money really coming back into the district. The hell kind of representative is that? Now, she, again, makes sure that she gets lots of earmarks going into her pocket, right, from whatever she learns and her contributions and everything else. But when it comes to taking care of people in the district, she sucks at it, which is an absolutely great transition, I have to say, which is into childhood hunger in the 5th district. So if you recall, here's us. We, the 5th district. Now, everybody here, you know where you live, but for the millions and upon millions of people who are watching all across the world, which they're not, but when they do, this is the 5th district in the state of North Carolina. So let's go back to where we were. It's up here. Now, what data are we looking at here that's really, really interesting? The percent of students enrolled in free and reduced lunch in North Carolina. So these are children who grow up in poverty or near poverty, and they need help because they don't have enough money to eat lunch every day. So the food is either given to them or the price is greatly reduced in order to help them out. So let's look at our friend Virginia's district, right? Oh, look at that. Wilkes County, very Republican district. 61.4% of the kids there, well over half. Allegheny, 63.3%. Again, a lot of kids. Surrey, 60.2. Yadkin, 57.2. 57. It averages about 60% across her district. All right, high 50s for the average number of kids on free and reduced lunch. So you would think that Virginia Fox would be like, you know what, man? I need to take care of those kids. Hungry kids can't learn. I've got to take care of them. Oh, you don't know Virginia Fox. Virginia Fox cares more about her donors and her billionaire patrons and the other people in the district who don't want to pay any taxes. So she basically has fought against free and reduced lunch, trying to end the pandemic program that provided it. Her colleague, Tim Scott, who sits on the committee that was reviewing the program, actually said publicly, this program doesn't go as far as I want to, but we had to kind of compromise with some of the people on the committee. That person on the committee was Virginia Fox, who basically will take food out of kids' mouths in order to satisfy her kind of mean-spirited, poor people gotta scrap their way up thing, instead of giving kids food that can help them learn to get better lives. And again, never ever just take what I say my word, right? I'm not like InfoWars or something where I'm like, yeah, don't look at anyone else. The media's liars. No, go out and look for yourself. See if what I'm telling you is true, right? Find these keywords that I say and Google them. And then find whatever sources you want. And you will find that Virginia Fox doesn't bring any earmarks back to the district, which means no money that the taxpayers pay really ever comes back, so to speak. That she literally will take free and reduced lunch out of kids' mouths. And this is in a year, keep in mind, when we've had inflation that she complains about constantly and wage wages really in this area haven't gone up. And we can get into that in another episode of this show. But so people have less money than they did. All those, so what page are we looking at? This is datacenterkidscount.org, Sherilyn. So right there. And this is a statistical compilation, data provided by NC Child. So basically, this is a group that tracks poverty and children's issues. So basically, go look at all the different things that I say, check them out, because I think it's important. And it's important that y'all understand that I'm not going to just try to feed you a line. It's another reason to also probably vote for me, is I'm pretty much honest to a fault. And if I make a mistake, I'll actually admit I make mistakes. Because guess what? Everybody makes mistakes. You know who doesn't admit they make mistakes is Virginia Fox and a lot of the folks in that area. And let's put it this way. I wouldn't be so vehemently opposed to her and her colleagues if they weren't doing serious damage to the people that they're elected to represent. I mean, every time you turn around, let me see. I mean, what's this spreadsheet? Yeah, so here we go. We got another couple good ones here. So I switched over. We're doing some data analysis, and this is very rough data analysis. But one of my passions is healthcare. Okay. And it wasn't until the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, became such a big thing, and the Tea Party people were screaming about it, and Sarah Palin was talking about death panels and all this. So I actually, while I was a consultant, I actually went over to my local university up at the University of Southern Maine at the time, and I said, can I roll in your health policy program? And they said, yeah, we don't have any remote people, but we'll let you do it. And so they let me do this health policy master's program, which I loved. And the only reason I did it wasn't to get a job or anything. And I guess this kind of shows how crazy I am, but I enrolled in it in order to learn about our health system and whether or not what people were saying about the Affordable Care Act, privatization versus public systems, and all this was true. And so I spent a year actively studying this area. Now, this data you're seeing on the screen was provided by someone else who's kind of doing some data work with us. But one of the big things is what percentage, we hear all these people saying you can't do Medicare for all, you can't do single payer, and a lot of these people that are saying that are the people that live in heavily Republican districts, right? Very Republican districts. Well, here you go. You got public health insurance by county. Now, what is public health insurance? Public health insurance is like the VA, Medicaid, Medicare, and those types of programs, right? Of course, Medicaid, not so much. Not a lot of expansion here in North Carolina because that's right, Republicans. But public health insurance. So in each of the counties where we are, this is the percentage of people who rely on public health insurance. Medicare, Medicaid, Veterans Affairs, yada, yada, yada. 48%, fully half of the people in Allegheny, which I think voted like 75% for Trump and for Republicans, are on public health insurance. So if they're really worried about death panels, 50% of the people there are worried about death panels, right? If they think the government, because that's where they get their health insurance. I did a quick calculation. 37.177% of all District 5 folks are on public health insurance programs. That's over a third of the folks are on a public health insurance program. The rest are either uninsured, which we'll come up with some data soon on how many are uninsured, as well as who is on private insurance programs. But when over a third of your entire group is on a public health insurance plan, guess what? It must be working. Now, the great thing about public health insurance plans is they have very low, and we'll do a whole show on this, man, because I love this stuff. Medicare has like a 4% overhead rate. And what is overhead for those of you who don't know? Overhead is the amount of money it costs to actually run the program. So people get mad about not-for-profits that have like 20% overhead because they're like, you're wasting all my money on postage and all these things, right? Well, 4% Medicare, that's what it costs. So for every dollar that we pay into Medicare, 4 cents goes to run the program. Private insurance, for every dollar that goes into private insurance, 17 to 20 cents goes into running the program. And you know where that 17 to 20 cents goes? It goes to like everybody having their own computer systems. It goes to everybody having their own way of communicating data. It goes to people selling healthcare plans. It goes to a CEO who needs a fifth house and a yacht. It goes to shareholders who want to profit off of your healthcare. None of that does anything to help us become a healthier, better nation. None of it. I've challenged anyone to come on and convince me, and I'm willing to listen, why a private health insurance company should exist. And coupled with that, and I mean for basic healthcare needs. Even more so, I challenge anybody to come and logically explain to me why where I work should have anything to do with my access and affordability of healthcare. And I'm going to see if I can very quickly find this article today. I don't know if you saw this, but federal judge, religion, AIDS, freedom. Let's see what happens here. Here we go. Now, so this federal judge, right? This is in Texas. I'm sure we're all just shocked and surprised by that, right? This is a federal judge that also happened to be the federal judge that he said all of the Affordable Care Act was unconstitutional before the court saw him, screw you. Even our Supreme Court at the time said, no, it's not unconstitutional. This guy did. Right? This is a guy that basically says this company does not have to provide a particular kind of medicine to its employees because it gets a religious exemption. Now, there's so many things that make my head explode here. I can't even believe it. First off, how does a company have a religious freedom argument? It's a company. A company is a set of papers sitting in a Secretary of State's office somewhere. So this is somebody's personal bias on the back end. So it says Christian-owned companies, religious freedom. Okay. So you work for this company. Now these people are telling you what kind of medicine they're willing to let you have or pay for. What the hell is that? Why is where I work tied up with what healthcare I get? It's absolute insanity. Right? So right now, this probably doesn't affect a ton of people. HIV drug coverage mandate violates religious freedom. What if your company is now opposed to vaccines because religious freedom? Now your kids can't get MMR, your kids can't get whooping cough, or your kids can't get COVID vaccines. You can't get a smallpox vaccine because they have a religious opposition to this crap. Andrew brings up a great point. Hobby Lobby doesn't want to pay for contraception.
it should have nothing to do with your company. Just because I work at a company that makes a ton of money and they can afford and they're big and they can negotiate some kick-ass healthcare plan and they can keep me with low deductibles and low co-pays and lots of insurance, I'm like, woo, yay me. But someone else works twice as hard somewhere. I mean, it's hard to work twice as hard as I do, but anyway, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, saying that someone did, but they didn't work at a company like mine. They get crappy insurance with the high deductible, ridiculous co-pays, and a small, formulary that doesn't even include the drugs that they need, and their insulin breaks them. All because of where they work. The American health care system is tragic. Now, I'm going to very quickly. So this is scary as hell from another reason, right? This guy saying that religious freedom allows you to control a healthcare decision. To that point, birth control could be an exception. Could be that any other kind of medical procedure that they oppose now, they will have removed from their plan. And then what, you're supposed to have to quit your job and go find another job because you work for a company that has some religious problem with the way you want to take care of your health? I mean, that's crazy talk. But anyway, on the close of this, I would like to talk about the thing called the Commonwealth. And this is if you want to do your own research. Here are 3 great research areas on healthcare if you want to learn more about it yourself. The Commonwealth Fund chart pack is fantastic. But go to the Commonwealth Fund. This is a group, they basically do independent research on healthcare issues, right? Start with the fact that you can accept this, that the United States of America, on average, costs twice as much as any other industrialized nation and has worse outcomes than almost all of them. Because here, if you're rich, you get great healthcare. If you're poor, you get really crappy healthcare. That's the way it goes. What did Dr. Oz said today? Dr. Oz said people don't have a right to healthcare, basically. He thinks they should get 15-minute physicals in some kind of festival atmosphere. What the hell, man? Anyway, the Commonwealth Fund. So the Commonwealth Fund chart pack. Great, cool stuff here. It'll show you things like, so if someone says to you, hey, the waits in Canada are so long, man, that kind of thing, you can go to the Commonwealth Fund chart pack and they do research on how long are wait times. How many maternal deaths are there? How many fetal deaths are there? You can find out all kinds of information about all across the world what the health outcomes and costs are. Right? Another one is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And this is a worldwide organization, absolutely crushing in the kind of data that they give you. Again, you can get cost data, you can get all kinds of stuff. It's a French organization, but they cross borders across the EU and across all industrialized nations basically to compare data. Absolutely fantastic. And last but not least, the Kaiser Family Foundation Health Facts. Boom. Again, absolutely fantastic health policy analysis, polling journalism, etc. You can learn so much. And a lot of this is incredibly digestible too. So when you're looking at it, you're not like, oh man, what am I going to do? I don't understand all this data. A lot of it is written for people to readily consume, and you can learn stuff here that's really important. So, like, people talk crap about abortion in the U.S. Here's a dashboard. All your stuff about Dobbs, medication abortion. As you know, if you followed my Twitter, which is KP for NC, at the top of my Twitter feed, I have my story. Is this how you do it? Yeah, I don't remember. Right here. Here, if you're interested, this is my story about my personal experience with having to make the choice of whether or not to terminate a pregnancy. So I encourage you to watch that. It'll give you an idea of who I am. Again, Nathan, if you're still here and you're wondering why you should vote for me, check that out. All right. So, Kaiser Foundation, all kinds of great stuff that you can consume. Not just about abortion, but about all kinds of things. But this is the kind of stuff that I'm saying, go do your own research and learn. And so when people are telling you crap about abortion and what they think it's all about, you can basically point them to sources that say, look, here's the real deal. And not just one source, not two sources. I gave you 3 sources, all independent, not even all in the United States. I realize facts don't convince people, and that's a whole different kind of subject. And I would love to talk about that at some time too, which is belief versus reason. But I think being able to kind of walk people through and help them is a huge advantage. So anyway, we're at the end. It is 7:56. I've talked for fully 51 minutes. As I said, starting next week, I believe I'm going to try to have guests. I'm going to try to also, when I do this like today, I'm going to try to have an agenda that I will send out in advance. So maybe we talk about healthcare for the whole thing and people can come listen to my healthcare position. The next time we can talk about marijuana legalization. Hey, you too, Nathan. Nice. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it very much. Bye, Sherilyn. Thank you too. And I'll see y'all soon. Check out my Facebook page. Check out my Twitter. Go to the YouTube channel. I'm working on doing better videos all the time. I'm going to be doing this in a more formatted fashion. Keep an eye out on those places so you can find out. And then, of course, these are also recorded, so you can get these on YouTube live streams as well as Facebook Live, I believe. So these things are still there when it's all done. But right now it's over. Thank you very much. You guys have been great. I love talking about this stuff. If you can't sense the passion and how much I care, I don't know what to tell you. I'm doing my best. I want to help the folks. That's the only reason I'm doing this, right? So send me topics too. All right. If you want to learn about something or hear my positions, send me some topics. Let me know, and we'll do it on the stream. All right, everyone, have a wonderful night. My food is cold. That was what I was supposed to eat. So I sacrificed my dinner for you. I give and I give and I give. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Take care. Thanks for joining me.